Question: if you suspected abuse, even if it wasn't to a child but to an adult, would you tell that person's alleged abuser? Because that's exactly what the hospital did to me. When I made a complaint against the hospital to their patients' relations specialist, she talked to my mom and my sister, and she told my mom over the phone that the reason why I was this way, like changed and depressed after, was because of my mom, not the hospital. Which, by the way, it was a lie. It was because of the hospital. Because she had told my mom that she was abusing me, that made my life 10 times worse. It was the first time I had to go to counseling because of everything the hospital did to me, and I was trying to learn boundaries between me and my family, and because I wasn't telling my mom where I was going was for counseling, she started saying I was being sneaky, I was being selfish, that I was telling everybody she was abusing me, and that I was throwing her under the bus. She's the type that withholds love when she's mad at you, so, silent treatments or no hugs, no I love yous. We'll say it to everyone else, but not to the person she's mad at. I figured out her behavior wasn't normal after I got counseling. Sometimes she would try to break down my door because I had locked the door, because it was to set boundaries, because I was still worried about my safety of my mom's ex coming, and it was just a way to make me feel better. And she didn't like it, and she was freaking out one night, and she tried to ram it down, and I was new to panic attacks, but I got panic attacks because of the hospital and everything, and I had a really bad one where I couldn't breathe, and it was really hard, and she wouldn't stop trying to break down my door. Like, I'm used to her angry outbursts, ever since I was a kid. She was the type to break your stuff or, punch holes in the walls. If she's angry at you, I know I didn't do something correctly over the phone, didn't say something correctly a couple years ago, and so she punched a hole in the bathroom door because I didn't do a good enough job. When you grow up in that environment, it's your normal, and it's not like you're talking to other people about it, so no one can tell you, hey, that's not how they should act, especially towards you. I was used to growing up and witnessing violence and all that not fun stuff, and it was just my normal. But because my mom didn't hit me, except for once across the face, I didn't think she was abusing me, because I didn't know until after I got out of the hospital and was told, oh, that's actually emotional abuse. And my whole life was defending her, right? From everyone who ever said anything bad about her. How dare you? That's my mom. I love my mom, But when someone says they love you and they do anything for you and they protect you, and in the moment you actually need that, they show you the complete opposite, which is what happened during the hospital situation and after. It was just horrible, and I really needed just someone to be supportive, not to scream in my face when I'm having a panic attack and I'm not used to panic attacks. I was literally having a panic attack, and it was new, where I would have freeze responses, so I couldn't move, I couldn't get out of it, and it was new because of the abuse that happened at the hospital. And she screamed right in my face, this close to my face, that no, I won't move, because this is me, this is what you get, this is just me. And she she just wouldn't let up. She wouldn't stop, and I couldn't breathe right. I couldn't move. When my mom's upset at somebody, the whole house turns against that person. So it always rotated on who's her target at that time. That's just how it was. At the time, my mom was mad at me, even though there was no reason. She was mad at me because I was no longer cooking for her every single day after the hospital and the abuse, and she didn't care what I said, what I went through. And when my cousin was hurting my cat, I was really upset, and I knew my mom might not listen, but I told her anyways. I said, my cat is flinching when I go to pet her, and my cousin is obviously the one abusing her, because my cousin did that shit. And so I was really upset, and of course my mom didn't care, because she was mad at me. And now it's not funny, because she still says, oh, your cat is gorgeous, she's so beautiful, I love that cat. And it's like, as long as you're not mad at me. And gaslighting, it's actually still ongoing, even though I live here and not there anymore. And that's the hard part, is always the lies. Like, why? Why? What's the point of it? And it's really frustrating, because it'll be the simplest things. When I did work up the courage to tell my mom about the nurse who hit me and the abuse, my mom stopped me and started crying and saying how she endured this stuff that happened, and she wanted me to be emotionally available for her instead of her hearing what happened to me. And because I had PTSD that was developing from it and trauma, I went into like a numb state. So I said, I'm sorry that happened to you. I know you want me to be emotionally available for you, but I can't feel that for you right now because of everything that happened to me. But I love you, and I'm not being heartless. And that was a mistake, because I learned that she uses any vulnerability against me. So later on, I don't even know, I didn't do anything. She was just mad at me, and she turned around, yelled in my face that I'm heartless and I don't love her and all this stuff. And she just used what I said against me. And when I finally did tell her I was moving, she didn't take it well and said that she would self-harm, and my sister was scared. Every time I tried to even think about leaving before, I always got threats of my mom would self-harm or start drinking again, and then I felt like I couldn't leave. But this time I did, even though I was genuinely scared that she was going to do that. But that wasn't fair to me, because that was always her go-to thing. That, or somehow she's magically gonna soon, only when she's mad. And I didn't get emotional support. I was the one that always gave emotional support. So it was really hard when I finally did get to move out on my own, because I didn't know my own emotions unless it was really obvious, like, you're crying, you're sad, and when I'm happy, like, that's obvious. But because I was so used to taking care of other people's needs and making sure they were okay, and my mom all the time, I just didn't know my own emotions, which is hard when someone's like, how do you feel today? It's like, well, I don't know. It's not something I've ever really thought about. And I was a little worried posting or saying anything now, because I just didn't want the hospital to try and use it against me and be like, oh, see, she was abusive. And it's like, no, everything's about you and what you did to me. But it's been a lot, and I've reflected a lot, and I'm trying to kind of come out. But it's still a little hard to say, because it's like you don't want others to look at them in a bad light, but it's also like something you need to get off your chest. And I realize a lot of people go through it too, and maybe they don't realize either at first. When I tried to tell her my feelings, she actually told me I'm being selfish and I need to think about the whole family, not just myself.